Sarah, can you hear us?
What?
Sarah's
Yeah.
good? Okay, thank you. Bonnie, you're with us? Good. So that's Councillor Bonnie Smith, who's the vice chair of the committee, but also again, resuming today. And Kaylee, are you able to speak, or do you want me to introduce you?
I'm happy to introduce myself. I'm Kaylee McCarthy. I work for West Hands. I'm the environmental technologist with Public Works.
Thank you, Kaylee. And do we have Debbie with us, or I don't know that I see her.
Yep.
Debbie's with us as well? Okay. And we also have Debbie Francis, who I can't pick up online right now, but she's the uh, chair of the committee and deputy mayor for the municipality. Okay, folks, I think we're good. Approve the agenda and any additions. So the agenda was circulated in advance. Any changes or amendments to that from anybody? Not seeing any. So the agenda is approved as submitted. Minutes were circulated prior to the meeting. Any amendments or changes to the minutes? I'm not seeing any. And I'll say to the folks online, because I'm a little bit out of the habit of the online chairing position, that if you've got something to say, just interject when there's a space. I won't always catch your thumbs up or your hand or whatever. So, okay.
Sure.
So minutes are approved as submitted. We're on to new business. And I'm going to turn this over to Planner Ogilvie. I believe he has a recommendation and report for us.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. So I first have to apologize that the report didn't go out with the agenda package previously. We just had some issues getting the right information to fill it and in making sure that it went out in advance. But because of that, I'm going to go through it in a far more detailed manner than I normally would for the committee. But essentially, the gist of this report is a recommendation to the committee to endorse and recommend to council continuing our property assessed clean energy program, Switch West Hants, and to identify funding, which will have to further go to council to continue funding that program and in order to continue its operation. So as a bit of background, the municipality has a goal of reducing both corporate and community annual emissions by 45% by 2030. And so to help achieve this goal, especially in the community realm, which are emissions that are not accounted for as the municipality's corporate operations, we have our property assessed clean energy program offering financing to homeowners to implement energy efficiency upgrades in their homes, whether that's heat pumps, insulation, new windows and doors, solar panels, etc. So this program was part of our emissions reduction local action plan. And we implemented it in 2022, opened it up for applications in 2023, and have been providing financing to homeowners since October 2023. So in December of 2022, council allocated $300,000 from the municipal operating reserves as an injection of funding for the PACE program. This funding allowed us to secure additional funding from a private lender, Vancity Community Investment Bank, and it's allowed us to offer these loans to homeowners and the municipality helping provide security for the loans. As of January 31st, so the end of last month, our program currently has 40 participating homeowners who have signed agreements for 60 separate projects. So a project is considered an individual efficiency upgrade. So if one homeowner wanted to do insulation and windows and doors, the insulation is one project and the windows and doors are typically considered another. So that's why we have more projects than participating homeowners. This has resulted in approximately $955,000 worth of financing provided to participating homeowners. And as of the end of January, the municipality had committed and contributed about $290,000 of the initial $300,000 allocation. This funding cycles back through to the municipality over time as we offer these loans over 10 years. The homeowners, the participants pay them back, and that money eventually comes back to the municipality over time. But essentially, we're looking to top that funding up to ensure that the program can continue to offer loans to participating homeowners and continue the growth of that program. in the 2 years that we've had this program running, 2 and a little bit now, we've never had any delinquent loan payments, so that's good news. As of 2025, there's a lot of different changes in the landscape of homeowner efficiency-focused renovations that have changed the uptake in our municipal program. This includes the federal Canada Greener Homes program, which has run out of funding and has not been renewed at this time for homeowners in the country. And that program provided grants and 0% interest loans for homeowners. Now, when we originally designed our PACE program for our municipal program, we had designed it to essentially marry with the Canada Greener Homes program, so that because one of the major issues with that program for most homeowners was that you had to pay your contractor up front and you got reimbursed 6 to 12 months later. So whereas our municipal program pays your contractor up front, so the homeowner doesn't put money down. And so by marrying those two programs, we allowed a homeowner to receive the benefits of both, because we would pay their contractor up front, and then the Canada Greener Homes, when they were eligible for it, would get it 6 to 12 months later, pay off their municipal loan completely, and now they have 0% financing. Unfortunately, with that program gone, as well as a lot of changes to Efficiency Nova Scotia programming and rebates, and the oil to heat pump affordability program is gone as well, now, or almost gone. They've indicated that they're probably going to be fully committed before the spring of this year. So with the changes in those other programs offered by the federal and provincial governments, it's really led to the Switch West Hants program being essentially the only game in town when it comes to offering funding for these upgrades. And therefore, we've seen a big uptick in our interest in the program from homeowners. We've since September, when I last reported on the program to the committee, we've seen a 33% increase in our people participating in the program. So that's really started to jump as things go along. And that's typically how these programs operate in other municipalities, is as word of mouth gets out and more people get into it, they realize the benefits of it and they start to communicate that with their neighbors and their friends. And so as these have changed, we've seen this increased uptake, which is a great thing in terms of emissions reduction, energy efficiency, and uptake of the program, but it also means we're using up that capital allocation faster, both from the municipality and the private financing corporation. There are major benefits to the municipality and the homeowners with this program, some of which I explained previously, but the fact that homeowners for this program don't go through a credit check, but the security for the loan is based on your property value and approval is based on good standing with your municipal taxes and utilities. So that a credit check can often be a major barrier for some homeowners, and so that reduces that requirement on them. We pay contractors upon completion with no down payments from the participants. It is a user pay model, so the general taxpayer isn't funding this program, as the 5% admin fee that is charged on the loan pays for the energy assistance services that are provided to the participants. This program can be fast acting in emergencies. Our very first participant was someone in 2023 whose furnace had died, and we were able to get it replaced with a heat pump system that they were interested in within a week. So often, if we have to, we can move quickly like that for people who really need it. Of course, we have significant energy savings and reductions of greenhouse gas emissions, which this program is a major component of meeting the council mandated goal by 2030 of a 45% reduction. Our options are relatively limited in the community sector of reducing emissions there, simply by the fact that it's more of a carrot approach than a stick. And it's very difficult to force that transition. And of course, homeowners can get advice from our energy concierge service provided by SwitchPace, who can provide contractor contacts for people to reach out to get quotes. They can help you participant review their quotes if they'd like to, and help you with qualifying grants and rebates and information related to those. And they are available via phone or email for individuals who don't like to communicate electronically. They can use phone. And we also, if someone wants to sign an agreement in person or anything like that on paper, they can come to the office and we'll print one and have them do it here, and then we send it to SwitchPace for filing. So there are some significant benefits, not only to homeowners, but the municipality for this program. And so in recommending that we continue this program and fund it, We're currently looking at different avenues of funding, including municipal reserves, securing a line of credit / debt, and grants. Essentially, the recommendation lies on taking on short-term funding as the other sources aren't as available at this time. I did have a meeting late last week with a grant foundation from RBC, Royal Bank, and they indicated during that meeting, as I was looking for funding to provide the capital, to provide loans to homeowners, they indicated during that meeting that that probably would not be an application that they would look at favorably by providing loans. So that option and that avenue is not really available to us at this time, unfortunately. And so as well, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities no longer has any funding associated with this type of programming. They've made quite a shift into offering grants and funding and loans to municipalities specifically for adaptation, climate change adaptation, instead of efficiency and greenhouse gas emissions reduction. And of course, as the fiscal landscape changes at a federal level, that all changes as well for them. So as we go through these options, there are some recommendations around taking on municipal using a debt source to provide funding for the program, which would come up at further discussion at council. But in the motion, in the motion, which is at the top of the report, which Vanessa can go back to once we're finished this last page, staff are recommending that the committee make a recommendation to council to continue the program and continue funding it. And currently, as outlined in the financial portion, options for funding currently outlined are to either wait until further funding options become available to the municipality, or to allocate $600,000 or the amount that the committee and council deems appropriate by taking on municipal debt. If that were to be the recommendation from short-term borrowing, staff would also recommend that the interest rate cost to the municipality be passed on to the participating homeowners to ensure that it's not an interest rate expense to the municipality, to essentially keep it as a user-funded program. So I also presented on the results of 2 years of the program in September. So that report is in the September committee meeting agenda. Sorry, November, not September. And if there are questions and discussion, I'd certainly be happy to answer as many of them as I can.
Thank you very much, John. Really appreciate the update and the report. So out to members of the committee, online and in the room, questions or comments for John on this? CO Phillips.
Okay, I'll jump on here. I think probably, John, you've highlighted some of the benefits, to the program. I think we've heard, at least at the council table, at least on 1 or 2 occasions, if we borrow money and then hand it along, why doesn't someone just go to the bank or a financial institution and do the same thing? They can. The answer is they can, and they have. In some cases, I think we've started the program, the relationship. We've given people the confidence to get the energy assessment completed. And then even when we had the federal funding in place, along with the provincial or the municipal piece, some folks still went down that road of personal financing, whether they had savings and they just paid for it, or whether they line of credit or wherever people get the money from. So I think it's important to highlight the benefits of the program, that really, whichever direction people go, whichever direction we recommend, or ultimately which direction council goes with the level of funding, is that we keep in mind the benefits of having the program. It generally will create the momentum and give people the confidence to move forward. Because without it, they're just somebody that thinks they need to have something done, and they may not have that expertise, or they may have to pay for that expertise, and they don't have the whole system. So I just kind of highlight that. Maybe because we had the benefit of chatting with Carly yesterday a little bit just around the financing. And maybe I could, Mr. Chair, through you to Carly, just kind of ask a little bit about our level of knowledge and confidence around our ability to borrow, will say project size amounts as the applications come in. So using it, creating a scenario, instead of us borrowing $500,000 and waiting to see who applies, can we basically get pre-approval and of an amount, and then only take what we need as projects come in. So let's say they're $10,000 increments. So we have this approval, and then we have this project, and then we take 10,000 at a time, or whatever the amount is. It's kind of incremental instead of, a larger block. Of course, our past participation had to do with reserves, and we'll just say cash that we had. So we were, taking from the pool and providing it. This scenario requires us to get it from someone else and then channel it through. So long way around to asking the question, can we incrementally take smaller pieces? And is that something we've researched and something that you can share with us at this time?
Yeah, so um we can definitely look at different products is how the banks would refer to it. Um and of course, if we were to look at something along that lines, it would be more so on the credit line scale, which again usually sets a rate, but it's usually on the amount that's borrowed. So again, the actual interest that gets charged to the individual is on their balance, but our balance might be higher. So they might not always necessarily align up. So there's going to be that fluctuating, even though we have a set rate, there will still be a little bit of fluctuation there. In the end, it should all match up, but there will be fluctuations in the borrowing years as we go along in the process. So really, it's going to come down to what's council's risk tolerance when we present the various products that they need to pick from.
Mr. Chair, I could
Okay,
just follow.
thank you, Wes. Yes, certainly, absolutely, right ahead.
I'm just thinking at some point we have a fundamental discussion about whether or not, and this is ultimately council, but we're making a recommendation. And I think personally, my view is that that the homeowner there probably should be a net zero impact to the municipality. That's just my perspective. Now, council can decide the level of subsidy that they want to with respect to the interest rate. Council could say, we'll borrow the money and the payment by the homeowner equals the principal value and not the interest, because we're going to absorb the interest. That's the decision of council to make. But I guess my thoughts are initially as kind of a 1-2 step process. The first process would be that I would recommend that the homeowner pay the full amount, meaning including the interest. Now, how much and how often we go to the bank, so to speak, is a second thing, but that would be my thoughts, at least, that the homeowner should at least pay the cost of the loan, of the money, we'll say, that is used to help fund this thing, and that there not be a net cost to the municipality. So that'd be my first thought on that, because we are borrowing money very likely. Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, Director.
Through you, Chair. I agree with the CEO's comments. I would also add that in addition to that, it's going to be something that council is going to have to consider on the overall plan for the municipality, because even though this won't be borrowed through the municipal finance division, just due to the nature of what we're looking for, it will still have an impact on our overall debt ratio and our capacity to borrow for other items.
Any other questions or comments from committee on this? Ms. Sisson, please.
I had a question about how we're measuring the corporate community annual emissions. How's that being measured?
So essentially, we did an inventory that was completed in 2021 that calculated the community emissions. Now, that was before I started here. And we're looking, actually, it's in our Climate Action Committee work plan for this coming fiscal. to consider redoing that inventory, and that'll give us a snapshot of where we are now. And we can get incremental updates specifically from this program, for example, as Switch Pace, who provides the administration of the program, also does energy modeling on how much savings we're receiving from each project that we've done. And so we see the emissions reduction in the data from this program specifically. We also see it in our transportation sector from our electric vehicle chargers and things like that. And then we'll have a holistic snapshot when we redo the inventory. The plan is for this coming fiscal for 26-27.
Because I think that would be helpful if we break down the 2030 goal of 45% to more like annual or biannual targets to know where you are at in terms of that, if that's your key performance indicator for the program.
Head, John.
Through you,
Yeah.
Councillor Ivy, Chair, as well, it is broken down a little bit more as well in that for the community emissions specifically right now, the 45%, approximately 41% is estimated to take place without the municipality taking any action. And that's due to the greening of the electrical grid in Nova Scotia and other factors like that, majorly the greening of the electrical grid. Essentially, that leaves the municipality responsible for the remaining 4%. Of that emissions reduction goal. And so it is broken down a little bit that way. And then as we go further into redoing the inventory, we'll see where we stand, because things will change as we see increasing development, right? Our emissions baseline will change as development increases and we see more population growth, more transportation requirements, more energy consumption. And as we continue with programs like these, we'll be able to assess their impacts basically. When we started this program, the modeling showed that if we were to rely solely on the PACE program to achieve our emissions reduction goal in 2030, if we were to rely on that alone, it would be approximately $40 million worth of programming that would need to be a throughput in order to ensure that emissions reduction. We aren't relying on that alone. We've got our EV chargers, if we continue on, and depending on how council has discussions around a transit system that we are currently doing a feasibility study on, those things will impact that as well. But if it was just straight only the property assessed clean energy program, it would be approximately $44 million worth of throughput by 2030 is what would be required.
Do you know where we're at in terms of against that type of baseline? How much has been spent? Yeah.
Go ahead there, John. You're fine.
Yes, right now we're at approximately 1 million.
Okay.
Yeah, in about 2 years of the program. And generally these programs in other municipalities that have had them running longer than we have, it's not a linear increase of program uptake. It's typically exponential, as many things are. So the hope is that as long as this program continues, that growth will continue exponentially, and will continue towards that throughput. We will not need $40 million worth of throughput alone for this program, because we'll be targeting other sectors of the community portion of our emissions as well, with EV chargers and transit and stuff like that, as long as council chooses to go through with those things. But at this time, that's what the numbers look like.
Okay, my next thing wasn't really a question, but as a community member, my family's looked into this program and we really support it. It's great to have as an option. But I was curious that we didn't that doing the energy assessment ahead of time wasn't mandatory. It was an optional thing. And as a homeowner, I think that's good, because I know I need to do my windows or whatever. But it may help the municipality measure the success of the program if we had those before and after snapshots. So it's just something to consider.
Anything on that, John?
It used to be strongly recommended, because a lot of the rebates from Efficiency Nova Scotia were contingent on getting a home energy assessment done. But as those things have changed and the fiscal environment changes, we stopped strongly suggesting them, and still recommended if people want to go through with that. It's great if someone doesn't know what they want to do. But our modeling is independent of those individual home energy assessments, and uses we use a combination of national average consumption values and provincial consumption values, as well as carbon emission factors to model that.
Thank you both for that exchange. Anybody else on committee, questions or comments? So I'm not seeing any signals up online.
Hi, Ed. Hi, Jim.
Hi.
It's Debbie.
Yes, I recognize that voice. Go ahead, Debbie.
Sorry, thank you for chairing. I'm multitasking today. So thank you
Okay.
for being able to chair. I just want to say I do agree. I think this is a program that we want to continue. I think probably the biggest obstacle is going to be for council. I believe budget funding and the budget is going to be our main concern. So I would like to see an amount in there. I just don't know, maybe Director Rashan, is there an easy way of us putting an amount in? Or put an amount in to be determined, if the committee can come up with something that is reasonable, that we think council will be able to support going forward. I just think we're not going to know a whole lot until we see our full budget of what's in there.
Over to you, Director Rashan.
Yes and no. So it really depends on what the committee is kind of chatting about here. And then, of course, what council ultimately decides. So if council wants to fund this through various items, let's just, again, I'm pulling scenarios out of my hat here, but let's say they want to put it in the operating budget. Would we put it in the operating budget at our estimated debt servicing cost, even though we haven't seen products yet from the financial institutions? Or would we put it in as an budget allotment to, say, build capacity for those debt servicing? Or would we just use that budget allotment to go towards the program annually? So there's so many different scenarios that we could. So it hasn't been built into the budget currently, just because we're kind of in the final stages of budget development. But it, again, would need more feedback from council on the direction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Anybody else online that wishes to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I just had a couple quick questions.
Go ahead,
Can you
Bonnie.
hear me? Can you hear me
We sure
okay?
can.
All right.
You're good.
So to Coordinator Ogilvy, and forgive me if I missed it, but what is our recourse if they don't pay? I think it's fantastic so far that we've had no issues with that. That's great. Well, what if they don't pay?
Go ahead, John.
Through you, Councillor Ivy Chair. If they don't pay their loan, we go through the same process as the tax sale process.
Okay.
So this is essentially it's adding on as a lien to their property and saying, if you're delinquent on your payments and you don't make up within time, then you go through the tax sale process. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And just another quick question for Coordinator Ogilvy, through your chair. And thanks for chairing, because I'm stuck at the school, even though there's no kids here today.
Okay.
What is your availability for searching out grants? You mentioned that you met with RBC about a possible grant, but how much time do you get to dedicate to grants? Really, like searching them out? Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
That's a great question. It really varies from day to day and week to week. But I would say we're generally, and I especially am generally very well informed of the various grants. We're very fortunate to benefit from the services of Clean Foundation and the Community Climate Capacity Program through Sarah, who is our community navigator, who's also online there as well. And they really help keep us informed. They send out the Clean Foundation themselves through that program sends us out a regular update on what funding programs are available in an email. So it's a pretty quick, succinct way of identifying climate focused funding. And you know, on a regular basis, I'm able to check the NSFM funding portal if someone says something that piques my interest, to look for something specific, but it's not generally something that I say I dedicate, an hour every day to or anything like that. It's more, we're very fortunate to benefit from Clean in that way, that we can kind of keep our eyes on that. And I generally try to keep updated on it as well, and see the updates from NSFM specifically, and any other agencies. I have pretty close relationships with people at FCM now as well, and can know that way when they're getting new funding out and stuff like that. And SwitchPace does a great job of helping us with that too, because they want to see this program continue to run as well. So they can help us identify funding that way too.
Great, thanks.
Is that good for you, Bonnie? Okay, so that's, anybody else online before I cast my gaze around the room here again? Looks like online is good. Anybody else here around the table before we?
I don't have any further questions, but I am prepared to make a motion when that time is appropriate, Mr. Chair.
Sure, thanks. I just had one thing I wanted to try and encapsulate, if I could, as a question. The $600,000, can you, and I may have missed it when you were talking as I was trying to do notes, and but the 600, is that what we anticipate to be the cap of what we would need or look to get by way of funding for this, and is that anticipated to be annual or for a shorter period of time? And my mind is going to the question on funding, and then it goes off of that to a couple of comments from Director Ashan as to whether that goes into the operating budget. Well, what's the tax impact on 600? Is it a 1 year or multi-year? So first to you, John, and then after that, we may transition to you, Director Ashan, if you're able to. Thank you.
That's a great question. I kind of touched on it a little bit, but not quite totally. I recommend doing it in a similar fashion that we did the $300,000 in 2022, in that we essentially, the municipality and council allocated a pot of money that was to sit there until used up, basically. And I envision and recommend seeing that sort of strategy taken again. With the current program uptake, if we were to continue that same trajectory, and noting that we don't provide 100% of the loan for the homeowners. Van City kicks in 50% of their loan as well. So number wise, 600,000 realistically would provide us 1.2 million of programming. And if we were to continue on the same trajectory, SwitchPace estimates that 600,000 would afford the municipality, that allocation would give us another year of the program, essentially.
Thank you. And just before we jump to directors, was the 300 debt or operating? Do you know? Do you recall, or can?
Operating reserves.
Operating reserves. Okay. Okay, John, thank you for that. Director Ashan, do you have anything else to add to that by way of the tax impact? What is 300, 600 on a, can you?
Just again, very, very rough, but you're looking at probably 3 cents roughly on the general rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be a little short of 3 cents, but yeah, just about 3 cents. Now that being said, it could be again, depending on the uptake in the program, like council can look at earmarking a contribution to the reserves to hold it there. Like there's a lot of different options, obviously, but to ensure that we have funding for the upcoming year, this is the recommendation that kind of Planner Ogilvie is bringing forward, and we need to then consider around this table before we take it to council for budgetary consideration.
Absolutely. And my reason for looking at that, trying to avoid the debt, is where my head is going, and the interest that goes with that, because that it might as well be operating if it's coming. So, thank you very much for both of you on that. Anything else by way of questions or comments?
I had another thing that came to mind, but as a benefit and a branding of the program, you didn't really discuss the savings that a homeowner would be making in terms of the affordability crisis. That may be really helpful, and you're looking for grant funding for the program, because that's an important maybe data point to look into. Okay.
Thank you, Lisa. Anything else, folks? Okay, CAO Phillips, are you wanting to
If we're
Draft a
ready for
motion out
that.
there.
So just before I read it, the motivation here, and for clarity, the 300,000 was not an impact on the tax rate. It was essentially utilization of reserves. Now, you could argue, you could use that reserves to offset a tax rate, so forth, but it wasn't money that we borrowed, or it wasn't an expense that was a burden to the taxpayer within the operating budget. So my motion has the same premise, that that this motion is not meant to impact the tax rate. So in saying that, I will start with what John has written with some modifications. So I recommend that the Climate Action Committee recommends the continuance of the property assessed clean energy program, Switch West Hants, with a funding allocation up to $600,000 for the 26-27 fiscal year, to be funded by external funding. Period.
I would second that, Jim.
Thank you. So we have a motion that's been moved and seconded. And does everybody understand the motion? Clear? Online, everybody good? Okay, so any discussion on the motion? Any questions? I'm not seeing any. So we'll call for a vote on the motion as put forward. All those in favor signify with their hands up, thumbs up, or you can say aye if you wish, but okay, it looks like we have unanimous support around the table on that. Okay, that's good. That's good for you, John. You happy with that? Okay. So we'll be seeing you in front of council with this in the next couple of weeks, possibly, or are you needing some more time to sort that out, or?
Depends on if we can get the financial information lined up, but depending on the motions that we continue to go forward with and what
Mhm.
financial information we can figure out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just thinking from the direction standpoint, if you're trying to get a sense as to what council's thinking on this sooner, probably better than. Thank you. So that's 4.1, the PACE Energy Program. Next item on the agenda is business arising from the minutes. And I believe we're going to have Coordinator Ogilvie speaking to us about an update on the PACE program expansion.
Thank you, Chair. So not to confuse anybody, because we're going to talk about PACE again, but these are, we're currently undergoing, at the direction of the committee and council, investigating an expansion of our property assessed clean energy program. And while these are essentially using the same delivery vehicle, the PACE model, there are essentially two separate projects and two separate programs as we look to expand it to do adaptation financing, whether that's flood resilience, wildfire, drought resilience, those sorts of things. With a particular focus from direction from council on drought and well support for rural residents especially. And so I just wanted to update the committee verbally that we have applied for a grant from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to help fund the study and design of setting up this program, which will involve bylaw updates and policy updates and new agreements that we'll have to draft to be signed with homeowners and stuff like that when we get this program running, and to assess the feasibility of doing so. And so we've applied for that grant from FCM, and they're reviewing it right now, and we're still waiting to hear feedback on getting that. Council allocated $20,000 from this committee's work plan budget from this current fiscal year, 25-26. And we're doing it in partnership with the municipality of Pictou County, who's looking to do the same thing at the same time and works with Switch PACE as well. So FCM looks more favorably on collaboration. That's why we're doing it together. And of course, we benefit from less duplication because the processes will be very similar in both municipalities. And they have allocated an additional $20,000 towards this study, which we hope will get a grant from FCM for 150, and excuse me, that should fund the study itself for design and setup of this program, and will support an application to FCM for capital funding if council wishes to go that route. And that is likely to come out for applications in the summer.
That's great, John. Thank you very much for that as an update. Checking around the room, any questions or comments on John's update regarding the PACE program? And online, I'm not seeing any signals there. Everybody's good? Okay, thanks very much, John. Greatly appreciate it. Next item 5.2 is an update on the comparison of level 2 and level 3 electric vehicle chargers. Once again, Coordinator Ogilvy.
Thank you, Chair. So this is at the request of the committee at our last meeting in November, with some more information on comparing our level 2 versus level 3 electric vehicle chargers, which are owned by Nova Scotia Power. But the municipality provided the space at our sports complex for them to install them. And a quick verbal update on that information. As of December 31st, 2025, our level 2 municipal EV chargers have hosted 2,038 sessions, which is over the course of approximately 3 years now. They were installed in October of 2022. So 2,038 sessions, consuming 26,200 kilowatt hours of power. And their rate is $1.50 an hour for their usage. For the level 3s, which Nova Scotia Power installed and with a grant from Natural Resources Canada, they have been running since April of 2025. And so as of December 31st, they'd hosted 806 sessions and consumed 21,820 kilowatt hours of electricity. And their rate is 60 cents per kilowatt hour plus HST, sales tax. And they also charge an idle fee. So if once your car is finished charging, they charge $1 a minute for every minute you're sitting there not charging your car. So taking up that space. So that's some comparison between the two EV chargers. If I also did a little quick math earlier this morning, if you were to take our the municipally owned Hyundai Ioniq 5 electric vehicle that we use for building and fire inspection services, if you were to charge it, it has an approximately 60 kilowatt hour battery in it. If you were to charge it at the level 3s, it'd cost you about $40. And if we were to charge it at the level 2 charger, it'd be anywhere between $13 and $15 approximately. Provided you're not sitting there at your level 3 charger for extra minutes past your charging. So there are some points for comparison for some information as the committee requested, and I can always get more information from Nova Scotia Power if possible. I was hoping to provide some estimates on greenhouse gas emission reductions as well, but I'm currently going through some questioning with ChargePoint, who provides our level 2 chargers. They provide the service for them, and just trying to figure out why my math and theirs isn't the same. So I'm just trying to figure out where they're modeling, if they're using different numbers than I am, and why we're landing at different numbers. But once I have more information on that, I'll bring that back someday too.
That's great, John. Thanks very much. And really helpful to know that you don't want to be using downtown chargers. I think you've got a free extended parking if you're CO Phillips.
I can't help myself, Mr. Chair. So presumably it's when the vehicle's still plugged in, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, we should be charging Nova Scotia Power for the right to have a vehicle parked. I won't go down that route. As my personal experience, you get a notification that your vehicle's charged. So unless you've gone some great distance, then you should have the ability to
Get
there
back pretty quick.
and avoid that charge.
Yep.
Thank you.
I guess what the question would be is what instigated them to put it in place? Who was still charged up when they didn't need to be? That's a good thing. Anything else from anybody online regarding John's second presentation there, or third, I guess, if we're in around the table? Okay, thanks again, John. Greatly appreciate the electric vehicle charging report. So roundtable discussion, we'll just do a check here and see if anybody has any other comments. We'll work our way around the room. Kathy, I'll start with you and go right to left. Anything you want to add to the conversation here today or questions?
Just want to add that we were contacted by the Climate Challenge Network to participate in a research program for the actual energy performance of the West Hand Sports Complex. So just had a brief meeting with them, with John included, and they were looking for a little bit of information from us. And yeah, it just sounds like an interesting project. So
That's great.
just a quick
Thank you.
update.
Wonderful. Carrie, anything for you to? No, you're good today. C.O. Phillips.
Quickly, thank you, John. It's almost $1 million worth of work in the PACE program, and knowing some other municipalities had the benefit of, we'll just say, free money. I wasn't sure what the uptake would be, because whether it was Van City's portion where you're paying an interest, free money's better than borrowed money. And the fact that our program has been supplemented by some free municipal money, there's still an interest component. So people really are motivated, and I think it's working. We've got $1 million worth of projects. So that's, I think, something to recognize and celebrate. Thank you.
That's great. Carly, anything? No? Lisa, you're good. And online, just doing a check. Bonnie, anything else that you want to share, ask? Debbie, I don't see you, but is there anything else that you wanted to add to today's discussion? And not hearing, I'll move on. Kaylee?
Nothing further for me. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Sarah, anything else from you today? You're good? Okay. So the next meeting is scheduled for April the 8th, 2026. We'll receive notice, I'm sure, from Vanessa and or John on that. And with that being said, thank you, everybody online, those who have joined us and those here in the room for another successful Climate Action Committee agenda.